So here is just our blank sheet that we are titling No Code MBA. And this is a tab. You can have multiple tabs in Google Sheets. And you can name your tab by double-clicking on the name. Let's just call this Demo. And here you can add sheets. So you can add multiple tabs. And we can write formulas to have these sheets talk to each other, which I'll show you how to do a bit later on. So at a basic level, you have the spreadsheet. We have columns, which are letters, and we have rows, which are numbers, which allows us to have each cell to have a specific letter number combination. So for example, up at the top, this is cell A1. If you go down in the middle, this is F10. So that's the spreadsheet. There's a lot more formatting and styling things up at the top, which we'll get into as we work through different examples. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's say we have this data that we want to work with. So in this example, we have data from a grocery store where we have items that were sold, we have the price of those items, the date, and we have the customer that bought those items. So let's say we want, we're working for this grocery store and we want to understand a little bit more about who's buying what, how much each customer is spending, what dates customers are spending. So we just want to analyze this data and learn more about it. So first I just want to explain a little bit of formatting that I did. The first thing is I froze the first row of data. And the reason I did that is as you scroll, the headers are still going to be shown as you scroll down, as opposed to if you didn't have this, then as you scroll, the headers would just go away. This also allows you to do sorting really easily. So just as an example, because this is frozen at the top, I can go up and hit this little right arrow, and I can sort sheet A to Z or sort sheet Z to A. So let's say I sort the sheet Z to A. You can see now we're going to have the most recent dates first, and it's also going to sort everything else together. So basically, this row is going to stay attached if you sort. And if I go back, you can see everything sorts back, so we have the oldest dates first. And the way to do this is you just go to View here on the top. You go to Freeze, and you'd select one row. You can also select two rows. You can select up to the current row. You can also freeze columns. So this is a really helpful trick just when you're helping analyzing data. It really helps to organize things. So let's start analyzing. So the first thing that I want to do is I see we have this list of customers, but I don't know how many customers there are. I don't know exactly who they are. So what we can do, because we have this big list, we can use a formula called unique. So to do a formula, you just hit the equal sign in any cell, and then you can start typing out your formula. So this is going to be unique. You can see it's going to start coming up. So we're going to type that out and then hit the open parentheses. And now all we have to do is type in a range. So this is D2, because that's the start of the range. And you do a colon, and now we're going to do the end of the range. I'm just going to hit D. So if you just hit D, you can see it's going to go infinitely down. It's never going to stop going down, as opposed to if I went and did D124, you can see it goes here, but if we ever add data later on, then we're going to be missing data here at the bottom. So we just want to go D2 to D. Let's go ahead and close that parenthesis and hit enter. And great, so here we can see these are the 6 customers. This is each unique name in the customer list. So we can go ahead and label this name. or let's label it customer. And now that we have the customers, let's go ahead and do just some general analysis on what was purchased here. So first I'm going to show you the average formula. And what we're going to do is have another open equal sign. We're going to type in AV average, put in open parentheses, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to do B2, so we're just going to actually tap B2, and that's going to automatically type in B2 here, and then we want the colon, and we're going to do B, because we want to do every single item down the line. So go ahead and close that, hit enter, and you can see the average price is $2.30 of items that were sold. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and find the average purchase price of each individual customer. So we're just going to label this average sales price. And let's go ahead and move this over. It's Command X or Control X on a PC, Control X on a PC, Command X on a Mac, and Command V on a Mac or Control V on a PC is going to allow you to cut and paste formulas around your sheet, which is going to be very helpful. So average sales price, for this, we're going to do an average if statement. So you do an equal sign. We're still going to type average, but here it's average if. So what this is we're calculating the average depending on a criteria. And in our case, the criteria is the customer name. So we're going to do the open parenthesis, and you can see Google Sheets kind of helps you build your formula. So we have a criteria range. So the criteria range is going to be D2 to D. That's all the customers. We're going to do a comma, and we're going to click on the first customer, F3 Eliza. And now let's do another comma, and we now want the average range. So for this, we want B2 to B, because here we are calculating the average wherever Eliza is the customer. We're going to calculate the average purchase price. Let's go ahead and close that and hit enter. So you can see it is $2.23, $2.23. Let's make that into dollars actually. So if you go up to the top, all you have to do is press this button, format as currency. Perfect. So we have that finished, and we could drag this down, but if we do that to drag the formula down, to copy the formula as we go down, what's going to happen is any cell which isn't locked is going to move. So let me show you what I mean. So if we pull this down to Matt, you can see average if, it pulled everything down. So here you can see it's average if D2 to D, and then if we go to Matt, it goes to D3 to D. So it's starting here. We're starting to miss data. And that's going to cause problems, especially in sheets where you're pulling down a lot. You're just going to miss data, and you need to make sure that we don't do that. So I'm just going to do Command Z to go back. And the way that we lock the cell is putting a money sign to the left of the cell that you want to lock. So here, if we lock D, what that's going to do is if you're dragging horizontally, it's going to make sure that we keep this range on the D column. So that's actually not going to help us here because we're only pulling down. It doesn't hurt us to put that there. There's no harm in keeping it there, but we're going to remove it for now because it's not going to help us. Here, we want to put the money sign next to the 2 because we want to lock that row So we want to do that, and we want to do the same thing here on B. We want to lock B2. F3, we actually do not want to lock this because we're pulling this down. So as we pull it down, it's going to go to F4, F5, F6, which is going to correspond to each name. So we don't want to lock that. We do want to lock the ranges. So let's go ahead and hit enter to save that. And now let's drag this down all the way so we get all of the customers. So here, if I tap into Jerry by double clicking, you can see F6 pulled down to Jerry, but the ranges are the same, which is exactly what we want. So here we have the average sales price for each customer. All right, so the next formula we're going to do is a Sumif. So for this, let's say we want to calculate the total sales, not the average sales, but the total sales by customer. So let's go ahead and type total sales. And we're going to do something very similar here. We're just going to do equals Sumif. And the range, it's going to be the same, D2 to D with the locking the row of 2. And the criteria is F2 and F3, and the sum range is B2 to B. Go ahead and close that, and here we go. So total sales. And pull that down, and there we go. So now we can see the total sales by customer. Next, let's go ahead and let's say we want to find the total transactions. And with this, we could, let's go ahead and do a count if. So here, all we have to do is equal count if. So what this is going to do is conditional count across a range, open the parenthesis. So the range is going to be D2 to D. We're going to lock that row like we have it. And the criteria is the name. So we just want to look for the names and count it if the name exists. So we're going to go ahead and close that, and let's drag that down. Awesome. So here we have the total transactions. There was an easier way as well to do that if you wanted to. I just wanted to show you the count if formula. But another way to do that is you could have just divided total sales by average sales price. And if we do that and we drag that down, and as you drag it down, you can see it's just going to pull that over. And one thing I see we just missed was adding the locking B2 here on the price. So we have to do that. Fix the Eliza H3, and then let's drag it down. Okay, perfect. And one thing, I wanted to show you the count if statement, but there is another way you could have found total transactions, which is just doing total sales divided by average sales price. So here you can see we drag that down, we're going to get the same answer. All right, so now let's say we want to learn a little bit more information about the individual items. So what we're going to do is use that same unique formula to pull in each individual item here. So let's go ahead and do equals unique. And this time the range is going to be on A2 to A. And here we go. So now we have all of the items. And let's say we want to pull in the price. And we just want a formula that's going to find an instance of each item here. And it's going to pull in the price. And I'm going to show you two ways to do this. One is a Vlookup, and another is an index match. Vlookup is maybe a little bit simpler to understand, so I'm going to use that first. And then I'm going to show you how to do it with an index match. Index match is a little bit more flexible and a faster formula as well. So it's definitely important to know how to use index match, but I'll start here with VLOOKUP. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit an equal sign, we're going to do a VLOOKUP. Vertical lookup is what it stands for. So we're going to open the parenthesis, and we're going to do the search key first. And this is what we want to look up. So we want to look up the orange here, and hit a column. And now we want the range. And the range is going to include the search key, which has to be all the way on the left side of the range. And it's going to include the answer that you want to look for as well. So basically, what it's going to look up the key, and then it's going to include the answer. So here, just as an example, we have A2. This is the start of the range, a colon, and B, because we want to include every item here and every price. And let's go ahead and also lock down the row, so A2, so that way it doesn't drag down as we drag down our formula. So next, we're going to go to index. And what this is going to do is let the Google Sheets know which column to return your result. So it's going to search the first column, and we want it to return the match in the second column. So we're going to do 2. And it starts at 1, so it would be 1 if we were returning the item in the first column, and we're going to do 2. We'll go to the next one. And here is sorted. So what this says is it indicates whether the column is to be searched, whether the column to be searched is sorted, in which case the closest match for search key will be returned. This is not sorted, so we're going to go ahead and do false. And let's go ahead and close it and hit enter. And here you can see it's pulling in the first match for orange, and it's $2.50. Great. So we should be able to just pull this down, and great. So now we have the price of each individual item, and we used a VLOOKUP to find that. VLOOKUP is going to be really helpful in a lot of different use cases on Google Sheets. So now I'll explain how you set up the index match formula. And one of the main benefits, in addition to being faster when you have lots of data with index match, with small amounts of data like this, the speed isn't going to make a difference. But when you're working with a lot of data, it definitely is very important. Is that you can search from right to left. You can search, you don't have to have your key value here on the left side like you do with VLOOKUP. So in this case, it's obviously still works when it's on the left side, so I'm not going to move it around, but just something to keep in mind. So this is the syntax for an index match. So you're going to do the equal sign and index. And here with index, the first thing we want to place is the reference column. And this is going to be the column that we want to return. So in our case, we're looking up the price of the item. So what we're going to do is look up that B column here. So B2 to B. And then what you do is a comma, and now we're going to start another formula inside of the formula that we're already working with. So we're going to type in match, and in the match formula, you can see here we have the search key, which is F2 here, or sorry, F12, which is orange. We're going to do a comma, and the range, which is A2 to A. So one thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that the each range has to be the same length, basically. So here we have B2 to B. We're going to match the search key. We have A2 to A, which is where those keys are located. And here, 0, search type. We're just going to put this to 0 because we don't need to have a search type here. And what 0 is going to do is find the exact value when the range is unsorted. So this is an unsorted range. Typically 0 is going to work, be the right choice. So here we're going to close the parenthesis, and then we need a second close parenthesis to close out the formula, because what we did was we added this additional formula inside, so we need a second one. So you can see if we only have one and we hit enter, it looks like Google Sheets was smart enough to know to automatically add that extra parenthesis. But you do want to make sure that you're closing out your formula. So here you can see we have the same answer here with index match as Vlookup. So let's do that one more time just to make sure that you understand it. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to do index. First is the reference, and remember this is the column that we want to find the answer in. So this is B2 to B. And we're going to lock this just like we've been locking our rows in the past. We're going to do a comma, and now we want to add the match. So the key is orange. What's the range where the key is living? It's A2 to A. We're going to do the same thing, lock that row. And we're going to put the 0 here because it's unsorted. And we're going to go ahead and close that first formula, close the second formula, hit enter, and we just have to click and drag down the formula. And awesome, everything here is matching. And now I just want to show you a really basic if statement. And an if statement in Google Sheets allows you to just compare different cells. You can do different formulas, and if you get a true statement, you can have Google Sheets print out one answer. And if the if statement is false, you can have it print out something else. And this is also going to be very useful in a lot of different ways. So here, we're just going to do a very basic if statement to check to see if these prices that we found in with Vlookup match these prices that we found with index match. And obviously here we don't need a formula for that, but this kind of thing can be helpful. Let's say you're working with a ton of data. You want to clean the data, meaning you want to make sure all the data is correct. Everything is easy to work with. This is actually one of really a main use case of Google Sheets, and working with data as a data analyst is cleaning data, making sure that you have good data that you're working with. So anyway, let's say we want to compare two columns and make sure that they are equal. Just as an example, let's say that you are collecting bank information. Okay, so let's just label this price match check. And I'm just doing Command B here to make the cell bold. So we're going to do equal sign and add if. So it's an if statement. We're going to open up the parenthesis. And all we're going to do is click on G12. If G12 equals H12, comma, what we're going to do is just type in parentheses some text, which is going to print if the expression is true. So we're going to type out prices match. And now let's do a comma, and if the prices don't match, let's say prices don't match. And let's go ahead and close that out and hit enter. So here, let's drag down this formula. You can see all the prices match. Let's say we just manually, let's just hit 1 here. So now it doesn't match, and you can see the price match check doesn't match. Okay, awesome. Now I want to show you how to handle a VLOOKUP or index match when there is no match. And let's say that there was another item here that we wanted to that we were looking at. So let's say we were looking for ice cream. And okay, so that kind of broke this formula here with the unique. Let's go ahead and add this below. There we go. So I think what that's doing is it's pulling in a blank cell because we're going all the way down. So anyways, if we skip this line, add ice cream. So let's say we wanted to look up the price of ice cream. And we wanted to drag the formula down. And what we're going to get is this not available, which is what's happening. It says did not find value in the VLOOKUP evaluation. That's also just helpful. In general, if you hover over this error message, it's going to kind of give you some more information. So if you make a mistake on your formula, or just in general, it's going to be helpful to make sure you look and see why your formula did not work. So we do the same thing here. We scroll down. We're not getting a match. But this isn't very clean. It's also not, if we want to work with this data later, it's not going to work very well. Really, we just want it to be blank if it's not, there's no match. So all we have to do is wrap our formula in another formula called if error. So this is going to be extremely helpful in a lot of use cases. So we're going to go right after that equal sign. We're going to type if error, and we're going to do a parenthesis. And then we're going to go all the way to the end of what we wrote. We're going to do a comma. So what it's doing first is it's going to say if that formula, the whole formula that we just wrote, has an error, what do we want to type? And what I'm going to do in this case is just two quotation marks because I just want it to be empty. You could also type something like error, but let's just, for now, leave it blank. And let's close it. So you can see now we closed that formula. And let's do the same thing here for the index match. We're going to do an if error. And we're going to add all the way to the bottom, all the way to the end, do a comma, two quotations with a blank in the middle, and I did a little typo here, if error, and let's hit enter, and then let's drag these down. So here, now, as we hit these, the blank cell and the cell with ice cream, which has no match, it's just going to be blank. So now let's say you did this data analysis and you want to share this with someone else on your team. And this is kind of more of a basic Google Sheet function, but in case you're new to Google Sheets, I want to make sure that I explain it. So all you do is you go up here, you'd hit share, and what you do is you just type in the name of whoever you wanted to share it with, and then you just hit done. So let's say I wanted to share it with set.nocode.mba. You type them in. You can notify them. If you leave that checked, they're going to get an email when you share it with them. You can send a message if you want. And then here you choose their permission. So as an editor, they can go in, they can delete everything, they can make changes to it, you can collaborate. As a commenter, they can add comments, so they can't actually change the formulas that you've already written. And as a viewer, all they're going to be able to do is view your spreadsheet. So let's keep it at editor. These are just some additional settings. You don't really have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and say I send it. So I'm going to share that with Seth@nocode.mba as an editor. Let's go back to share. Let's say you also want to get a link that's public so anyone can view your spreadsheet but not edit it. So what we'd want to do is click get link, and it's going to say only people added can open with link. What we want to do is change to anyone with the link. So it's updating. And the permission is updated, so now anyone with the link is now a viewer. So what we would do is now this is going to be basically a publicly available link on the internet. So anyone who has this link can view it. So let's say that you were creating a list of most recommended books to read. So you create the list yourself. You want to share it with other people on the internet, but you don't want them to actually be able to edit the list. You would change it so the Google Doc is only a viewer. If you wanted anyone to edit it, you could do that as well. You would just change it to edit. So there we go. You would hit copy link, and you would then have your spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and hit done. I want to show one more thing here. Let's say that you did add your sheet to collaborate with someone, or let's say you're working on your own and you make a mistake and you want to see who has been working on the sheet, and you also might want to go back and go back to a different point in time on the sheet. So we have our version history here. By clicking this last edit was 4 minutes ago button. So if we click that, here we can see the whole version history. If we click in this little arrow, it's going to have our detailed version history. And here is literally every change that I made on the spreadsheet. Basically what this means is, let's say someone does go in, they literally delete everything on your spreadsheet. It's all saved. So all you'd have to do is go to more actions. You can make a copy of the sheet at this moment, and that would basically allow you to get back to where you were. You also can go to this button that says restore this version. So that's not going to make a copy of the sheet. That's just going to overwrite where you are. So if everything was deleted on your sheet, but you went back to your version history and hit restore this version, now your sheet is going to be restored back to where it was before that was changed. So now I'm going to show you how to protect ranges in your Google Sheet. This is useful if, let's say you do allow other people to edit your spreadsheet, but let's say it's a really complicated spreadsheet. Maybe it's being used as a CRM. Maybe it's a business model projection. It's something pretty complicated. You do want them to have access so they can edit the spreadsheet. They can do things with it, but you don't want them to accidentally break something, and it's going to be hard to kind of figure out what's broken on your spreadsheet and how to fix it. So there's a really simple way to do that. And all you have to do is drag over the area that you want to protect. So let's say we want to protect these formulas here. We don't want anyone to accidentally mess it up. So all we do is right click. We go down to protect range. And let's just name it. So it's going to say locked formulas. And this is the range. You can also lock the entire sheet if you want, but we're just going to lock this range. And then you're going to say set permissions. And here you can see by default, it's allowing everyone to edit. But let's say only I want to edit. I'm going to remove the second seth@nocode.mba email, which I shared it with someone, let's say. So I just want to uncheck that so only I can edit it, and you would just hit done. Another option, so here you can also just say only me. That does the same thing as basically unchecking everyone but me. You also can say show a warning when editing this range. So what that'll do is that will allow anyone to edit the range if they want to, but it'll prevent them from accidentally doing it. It'll say, be careful, this range is protected. Are you sure you want to make an edit? So anyway, let's go here. Let's hit done. And now this range is protected. So if anyone went and tried to edit it, they would be locked out of doing that.